Scrooge's bank was one of the nicest souls in Gretna, Bob Cratchit. He was as poor as Scrooge was rich, but Bob never complained. He always had a kind word for everyone and kept the spirit of Christmas in his heart all year long. On Christmas Eve, Scrooge went home at his usual time. He had no reason to leave early. There would be no Christmas celebration for him.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Scrooge!
A fine time to pick a man's pocket every year. Bah humbug!
Soon after Scrooge left, Bob Cratchit closed up the bank and went home as well. He was looking forward to a loving Christmas with his family. At home, Ebenezer Scrooge had a cold supper and then sat in his den in his radio chair staring at the fire. Suddenly he heard a terrible moaning and clattering at the back door of his old shotgun house. And then to his amazement, Scrooge saw the ghost of his former business partner, Jacob Marley, float into the room.
Beware! I was as mean and stingy as you are today. Now I am doomed to walk on the earth in chains forever. You will be visited by 3 other ghosts tonight. Listen carefully to what they have to teach you. It is your only hope.
With that, the ghost disappeared. Certain that he had only imagined the ghostly visit, Scrooge went quickly to bed and fell into a deep sleep. When the clock struck 1, Scrooge was awakened by a bright, unearthly light. He jumped out of bed and fell to his knees in fear. Standing in the middle of the room was a small, glowing figure.
I am the ghost of Christmas past. I have come to show you a Christmas long ago.
The ghost of Christmas past took Scrooge's hand. Magically, the window opened and Scrooge found himself being flown over the city of Gretna. Soon, Scrooge and the ghost, invisible to all except each other, entered a large, pleasant room. A joyous Christmas party was underway.
Merry Christmas, Ebenezer. Merry Christmas, Jacob.
Why, that's Fezziwig! I used to work for him! And there's my good friend, Jacob Marley! And there I am, as a young man.
Thank you all very much for coming to our party.
As Scrooge watched his younger self talking to Fezziwig, a tear came to his eye. He remembered that Fezziwig shut up the shop on Christmas Eve and treated his employees to music and food in the celebration of the holiday.
Merry Christmas, Ebenezer. Thank you very much.
Looking back on the kind and festive behavior of his old employer, Scrooge remembered that he himself had the power to make his employees happy or unhappy, and to make their work enjoyable or dreadful. The happiness he could give could be as great as if it was a fortune. With a feeling of guilt, he remembers his earlier treatment of Bob Cratchit and how he wouldn't let him leave early to be with his family on this special occasion because of his own greed and bitterness.
I was so different then.
Then, without a word, the ghost disappeared. Scrooge found himself alone in his bedroom once again. But later that night, as the clock struck 2, he was awakened by a second spirit, a jolly giant.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! I am the ghost of Christmas present. I will show you Christmas as it is today. Spirit, take me where you will. Teach me what you will.
The ghost of Christmas present took Scrooge through the streets of Gretna. Everywhere Scrooge looked, there were happy people rushing to Christmas Eve celebrations.
Look at all the beautiful lights.
Come on, it's time for the party.
Scrooge felt very much alone.
Scrooge and the ghost arrived at the home of the Cratchit family, just as Bob Cratchit was returning home from a walk with Tiny Tim, his son. Tiny Tim was a sweet but sickly child who walked with the aid of a small crutch. Inside, Bob's daughters greeted him happily.
Daddy!
The family was dressed in tattered clothes. They were forced to wear their coats of rags indoors because they were too poor to purchase gas from the Atmos Gas Company to heat their tiny apartment. Scrooge watched as the Cratchits sat down to their meager meal of red beans and rice. Each portion was barely large enough to feed a mouse.
Merry Christmas to us all, my dears.
God bless us, everyone.
His simple words touched Scrooge's heart. After dinner, the family sat by candlelight because Entergy had cut off the power since they were unable to pay their bill. They told stories and laughed till the wee hours of the night. The Cratchits were poor in some ways, but they were rich in love and caring for one another. Their Christmas celebration lacked presents and large feasts, and yet was a joyous one.
Lady of the world.
Oh, Mommy.
Spirit, Tiny Tim does not seem well. Tell me to live. I see an empty seat at the table and a crutch without an owner. If these shadows remain unchanged in the future, Tiny Tim will die soon.
Then, without a word, the ghost disappeared. Scrooge found himself alone in his bedroom once again. But later that night, as the clock struck 3, he was awakened by a third spirit. A hooded figure that made Scrooge tremble.
Are you the ghost of Christmas future?
The spirit nodded.
Show me the future then. I am ready.
The ghost of Christmas future took Scrooge's hand. Magically, the window opened and Scrooge found himself being flown over the city of Gretna once again.
Who is buried here, Spirit? It is a lonely spot.
Before Scrooge knew it, he found himself in the dark and dreary graveyard behind the Red Maple restaurant. The ghost pointed out solitary gravestone.
Who is buried here, Spirit? It is a lonely spot.
The spirit pointed at the gravestone again. Scrooge crept closer to the stone and read the inscription. It said, Ebenezer Scrooge.
Oh no! Tell me, Spirit, that I may change before it's too late. And I'll keep Christmas in my heart all the days of the year.
Scrooge closed his eyes to blot out the terrible sight. When he opened them again, bright sunlight was streaming in through his bedroom window.
It's Christmas morning, and the spirits have done all their work in one night, and I'll keep my promise and hold Christmas in my heart all the days of the year.
Ebenezer Scrooge dressed quickly. He looked and looked for the special gift that he had received as a young man. Finally, he found it. Scrooge went outside to exchange Christmas greetings with the townspeople.
Merry Christmas, everyone!
Merry Christmas, Mr. Scrooge.
Next, he had one stop to make, and then it was straight to Bob Cratchit's house, where he knocked briskly on the door. When Bob opened the door, he could not believe his eyes. There stood Scrooge, with a smile on his face, good cheer in his heart, and presents he purchased from Target, which had opened Christmas morning for 3 hours so people could buy last-minute gifts. The ghosts had done their work well. Scrooge had changed into a kind and generous man.
Best of all, Tiny Tim did not die, for Scrooge made sure he had the best care at Children's Hospital. And that Scrooge took care of the entire Cratchit family from that day on. Every Christmas for many years to come, Scrooge sat at the Cratchit table, and each year he listened happily as Tiny Tim recited to a familiar blessing that now included Scrooge too.
God bless us